Education has evolved many times over the years, but there has been a new initiative for our 21st century learners. Formerly, teachers were the sole providers of education and delivery of instruction. However, not every child learns best through direct instruction. Students need ample opportunities to take instruction, make connections, and make it meaningful for them. This presentation focuses on the role of person-centered learning in a departmentalized classroom and how it has changed over time. The Role of Person-Centered Learning in a Departmentalized Classroom by Shelby Dominguez. So, what is the role of person-centered learning and how has that role changed over time? The three elements of teacher-centered versus person-centered classrooms, climate and culture in schools, and departmentalization versus self-contained all come together to develop a strong foundation for learning. Moving away from the traditional format direct instruction, which is most prevalent in elementary schools, 21st century teachers are developing new ways to get instruction across to students while still building community in their classrooms. The interplay of these three theories helps teachers and students set up a classroom for success. Since we're focusing on person-centered learning, we need to accurately define what person-centered learning is and how it is different from teacher-centered learning. Person-centered learning is sharing power between teacher and students. When students feel that they have shared power and responsibilities, they feel like they can be trusted and respected, which is conducive to building school and classroom connectedness. Unlike teacher-centered learning, the teacher is the sole provider of instruction, which is typically delivered in a direct instruction format. Through person-centered learning, the students are the focus. They direct their own learning, ask questions, and problem solve. They are engaged in their own learning by choice of self-selected activities and collaborating with group members. With teacher-centered learning, students heavily rely on their teacher for any kind of instruction because the teacher has the final say and wants to remain in control of the class. According to Friedberg and Lamb, kids love school because they feel trusted and respected, they are part of a family, they feel their teachers encourage them, and they are given opportunities to be responsible. These are the components that make up a person-centered classroom. Freiberg and Lamb also stated that when students feel safe, they are more apt to demonstrate creativity, intellectual curiosity, and higher level thinking. When students feel like they belong, they become self-motivators, reach out to other students, and flourish within a classroom environment. Teachers must remain consistent, though. Teachers need to continuously remind students of procedures and expectations while allowing students freedom of choice within reason inside the classroom. The last element I wanted to talk about was the difference between a departmentalized classroom and a self-contained classroom. Delvisco and Muffs describe departmentalization as a teaching format where one teacher teaches specialized subjects in one or more content areas, whereas a self-contained format is a single teacher teaching all content areas. Departmentalized classrooms are typically found in secondary and high school with teachers who have a related degree in that field. These teachers are considered experts because they know their content well and know what needs to be taught to students. In today's education, we are seeing a trend in elementary schools that are implementing more departmentalized classroom and phasing out self-contained classrooms. In a study by Lowry, he found that teaching fewer subjects improves subject area attitudes by allowing teachers to focus on standards and teach strategies in depth rather than spending their time over a wide range of subject areas. Stroll, Schmertzing, and Heiso found similarly, if schools increased the number of departmentalized classrooms, it would greatly reduce a teacher's workload and the preparation necessary to teach that particular content, resulting in an overall increase in student achievement. Teachers are more motivated and satisfied when they notice increase in student achievement, which will lead to overall higher retention rates for schools. So, how does these three theories and the overarching question of the role of a person-centered learning environment in a departmentalized classroom affect students, teachers, and me? This past school year, I taught second grade math and science, and it was my first year being departmentalized. I felt excited and nervous for this big change. I wanted to utilize this new change in better hopes that all of my students would be successful. In previous years, I struggled with classroom management and overall climate and culture of my classroom. I implemented the use of community circles to build community and connectedness in my classroom. I consistently use them every day. As one form of community circle, I got out a blank sheet of paper and handed it to each student and told them to draw a picture of the classroom. I gave students about 15 minutes to complete the task. After reviewing the drawings, I was surprised that very few students drew their classmates and me in their pictures. A lot of students drew the rug as the focal point of their picture, which says to me we come to the rug a lot, which signifies it must be important to them. All of my students drew desks and chairs in the classroom. I was surprised that one of my students even drew my phone. The student drawings allow me to see from a student perspective on how they see and feel about the classroom environment. The items they focused on the most probably has the most impact on them, which I find it odd that so very few of them included their friends in their pictures. I'm wondering if I would have framed my question differently, would they have drawn their friends? The students who did draw me in their pictures included me in the center of the picture, smiling. That leads me to believe the kind of persona I give off to my students. This activity was a great way to see the perspective from my students and how they feel about school. The best way to get the perspective on departmentalization versus self-contained classrooms was to ask my colleagues on my second grade team. Both teachers that I interviewed taught in both types of formats. I asked Ms. Guzman, who is also my teaching partner, if she preferred to be departmentalized or self-contained. She told me she preferred to be departmentalized because you get to focus on one content area instead of spreading yourself thin, covering the other content. You can better plan as well as monitoring and adjusting as well because you're teaching the same lesson. I followed up with the question, is being departmentalized easier for students? Ms. Guzman said she finds it easier to focus on certain subjects, especially a subject that you're passionate about. You also have a team, a partnership, and that you're not alone. Someone who you can rely on because they share the same kids as you, and when you feel good, your students feel good too. The last question I asked was, why do you think our students showed 100% growth this year? She said it made it easier because we're better prepared and we know the content. We modeled and demonstrated a lot because we wanted to show what was expected of our students. It made it easier because her partner teacher, me, shared the same expectations. That's what made our students well-rounded. Each year, our students participate in an assessment called a MAP test, which measures growth and performance. As the student is taking the test, MAP creates a personalized testing experience and adjusts automatically as each student selects an answer during the test. Our campus administers this test 3 times during the school year. Once at the beginning of the year for initial data, once in the winter for a midpoint, and at the end of the year to determine growth over the course of a school year. As teachers, this data is very beneficial for us because it helps us prepare our lessons and give personalized instruction for each student. We can tailor our instruction to better support a student's strengths and weaknesses for reading and math. What I wanted to highlight was a particular student whose last name is Shockley made not 1 but 2 years growth in an academic year. This student came to me and my partner teacher at a level 4 DRA in reading, which is end of kindergarten, and exited second grade at a level 28 DRA, which is on grade level. From his MAP scores in reading, he started at a score of 152 in August of 2018. By May 2019, he increased his score to a 175, a 23-point jump showing major growth. This particular student was a frequent office visitor in kinder and first grade. So far behind academically, his previous teachers and principals thought he should be retained. Miss Guzman and I celebrated every milestone with him and told him we believed in him. By the time the awards ceremony came in May, we announced his name to come grab his certificate, which read 2 years growth. He was in tears because he was so happy about all the hard work he accomplished this past year. This past year, I implemented the Consistency Management and Cooperative Discipline program in my classroom. Research finds that the CMCD schools have increases in student achievement, increases in student and teacher attendance, reduced office referrals, and improved classroom and school learning environments. Studies have shown that this program gives teachers more time to teach, gives students a sense of ownership of the classroom, and uses a variety of cooperative and comprehension strategies for learning. As part of this program, I incorporated the use of the Go-Around Cup in classroom managers. The Go-Around Cup is a method of randomization of pulling students' name sticks from a cup to ask questions and following up with a praise word specifically chosen by that student. I also employ classroom managers. Instead of class jobs where a teacher assigns a job for every student, students have the choice to apply to be classroom managers. Students complete a job application for the position they would like to have, and I interview the students on why they feel they should be selected for that specific job. By implementing the CMCD program, my classroom was transformed into a well-balanced community in which all participants collaboratively shared the rules and expectations of the classroom. This model helped transform my classroom from teacher-centered to person-centered. I was eager to build community with my students so that we could develop our relationships to one another. The past couple of years, I felt my classroom was lacking something, and then I realized the importance of relationship building and how it connects to how kids learn. Through the incorporation of the CMCD program, consistently using community circles, and giving my students choice, I saw my students excited about learning and constantly wanting more. I also think by being departmentalized, it helped me realize the love and passion I have for math and science. I get the love and passion I have for math. I get excited planning these lessons for my students that are hands-on and engaging. I became even more excited teaching the lessons to them. I knew that when I taught a lesson and it didn't go well, I had another opportunity to adjust and try again. I learned and developed as an educator because I reflected on my lessons, wanting to provide the best instruction possible for my kids. Being able to lean on my partner, teacher Miss Guzman, was great because we knew our kids the best. We knew their strengths and weaknesses and tailored our instruction accordingly. When our students saw how excited we were about teaching and learning, they became excited too. When I shifted to a person-centered classroom, my students felt valued because they were taking ownership of their education. When students feel like they matter, they are more willing to take risks and over obstacles they never thought they could overcome. According to Freiberg and Lamb, students take on responsibilities and have responsible freedom and choice within the classroom. Changing a teacher's perspective from I am in control to we are in control isn't always easy. I took a risk on letting my guard down and getting to know my students to show them I am human too. Taking that risk was the best decision I made because I saw true learning and growth, not just for me, but for my students as well.